on the go.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name is Dom Caster-Sainta, and I've got a new friend today. Hey, Hughbo, how you doing?
All right, guys. I'll go by Irvin for today, but we're really proud to bring you, some new content. And today's game is going to be between the KT Arrows and Samsung Blue.
And we're very, very excited to start doing a couple of these games. And now I know this is the first video that we are doing together, Irvin, and hopefully we can actually make this into a series where we bring these Korean. This is the NLB games?
Yeah, so basically NLB stands for Nice Game LOL TV. Wait, Nice Game LOL Bracket, actually. And basically, I'm sure as many of you know who are watching this video, because obviously if you click on this, you probably have an extensive interest in LOL, the League of Legends community, especially the current League of Legends community. This is basically the amateur tournament for OGN, and a lot of OGN teams that lose in the group stages are fed into these brackets. And as you can see, Samsung Blue, who lost in the group stages, Group B actually, of the OGN Winter 2013-2014, are facing off against the KT Arrows, the KT Bullets sister team.
And certainly to say that these aren't the best teams in the OGN does not mean that they are necessarily bad teams. These are still very, very good players, and here we're already going up and comparing a little bit of the players. We're seeing KT Someday, seems like he's most popular on Mundo, Renekton, and Rengar in that top lane, whereas Acorn usually likes to take Rumble, Shyvana, and another Rumble, which is just a bit interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we talk about good teams or not, you have to remember that the last team to ever take a set, matter of fact, a game off the eventual, the current OGN champions, SK Telecom T1, was Samsung Blue with the Nidalee Lucian push comp. So these teams are actually nothing to snuff at. Just to point out right now, KT Someday is probably the biggest star player for this team. I mean, he used to be on the KT Roaster Bullets. Eventually, he got moved down to the KT Arrows. But he has a really high-ranked solo queue. I think he was third in the challenger ladder, in fact. And I mean, he's always been really, really strong, especially on the Renekton. But on the previous games of NLB that we've all been watching, I'm really happy to have seen him, expand his champion pool, because that was one of the problems, one of the reasons why he got moved from the KT Roaster Bullets to the B team in the KT Roaster Arrows.
Absolutely, we're going to have to keep an eye on how well he plays in the top lane. And now we already have two more players up. Where KT Lyra seems to be most known for his Olaf versus KT Spirit. And now these are going to be the junglers, and that was Riven in the jungle for Spirit. Right,
Riven in the jungle. Actually, a lot of other teams in OGN during the group stages picked up jungle Riven, but Spirit was actually the first one to really grab jungle Riven and start playing it at a competitive level. So that's something definitely to look out for. And another player to look out for actually is Pawn, because Pawn. Okay, let's be Pawn smashed Faker during the WCG qualifiers. Pawn is a really, really good mid laner. That mid lane Lunu is he played it against Faker's Orianna and with medium success, but we'll take what we can get. We'll take what innovative picks we can get.
We'll have to take a look, and we have now KT Clown versus Samsung Blues Deft on the AD carry, and it seems that they both favor Ezreal now. It'll be fun to see if which team decides if they want to go for that AD carry rush to try to get Ezreal for Clown or Deft, or if they are going to be more comfortable letting Clown end up on Lucian or Deft end up on Vayne.
I honestly think that just in this meta, AD carries like Ezreal aren't of a huge priority right now in the Korean scene. KT Clown, for people who don't know, he used he used to be Lyris, and he used to play for CTU, Cheonnam Techno University, and he was really it was a notable event when he scored a pentakill on Vayne a few OGN seasons ago on the highest level of gameplay. Another thing to note is that I said just now that KT Clown used to be on CTU, and other players on this organization include Hachani and Hachani and KT Lyra, and they all used to be on the same team in CTU. So, most of these players were picked up from the ex-Cheonnam Techno University squad that was featured in OGN Champions Spring last year.
Oh, we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that. If Hachani and Hart are familiar with each other, then they should have a very powerful bottom lane, and I can definitely see an Alistar Ezreal combination working out in KT's favor. So we'll have to see if Samsung Blue decides to let that go. And again, we are very excited to bring you these games. We're going to take a little bit of time and just stare at these wonderful Korean casters, I suppose.
You know, I mean, there are few things that are more, there are a few things that I find more valuable than staring at the hype machines known as Korean casters.
Yeah.
So I'm really
it's
excited
really
to see
professional.
that.
I love the coat and tie. In the NA, we always have the open button-up shirt with the blazer, and now apparently it's all about vests, rolled up button-ups.
The rolled up with the roll. I just want to say, if Rivington III is watching this right now, dog, you look mad fly in your casting. But so we're about to get into the picks and bans right now. So hopefully this turns out to be a really good game. So I'll let you take it away.
We're definitely going to have to keep an eye on. Yes, we are now going into the picks and bans. We can already see a couple of bans going out. Nidalee, Lucian, Gragas, Caston. So far, that's 2 mid bans for Lyra. A Nidalee ban for, I believe that was Deft who takes Nidalee. And then a Lucian ban for Spirit.
It's the order is messed up here. I don't know why. It's
it?
Pawn who takes Nidalee.
Okay.
Pawn is the mid laner for Samsung Blue, and Pawn's Nidalee is basically world class. If you actually watched the new Reflection series with Thorin, and he interviewed Bishu, Bishu actually said that while he was trying out for Samsung Blue, he showed how strong of a pick Nidalee is, and that's supposedly why Pawn first picked up Nidalee, but his Nidalee really is true world class. First picking the Thresh is nothing new here. So.
And right now the stats on the screen, is that a top 5 ban rate?
Or
is that a pick rate?
These are the top 5. These are the top 5 ban rates.
Okay, so that definitely makes sense. Seeing that Nidalee ban currently at 57%, Lee Sin at 52%. Lee Sin, of course, very, very high mobility jungler. Some of the others were banning Annie out because Annie in Season 4 is such a strong support. Even with the changes to her early level stun, it is so very powerful. And wow, we're going through picks and bans so quick.
So the Olaf Sivir is a classic combo, really. Obviously we've seen a lot of situations where a Thresh will carry Talisman of the Ascension, which is a minor speed boost, but Sivir can also use basically her free X Shirelia's Revelry of an ult to speed up Olaf to really get into the back line. It'll be really interesting to see what Samsung Blue runs in order to peel for their AD carry.
And I would actually really like to see Hart on Ezreal. And whoa, locking in the Caitlyn, you brought it up exactly. Talisman of the Ascension and On the Hunt is such an excellent engage for Olaf because he can use Ragnarok, run right up to his target, and really burn it down. But just to talk a bit more about the picks, Pawn ended up getting that jungle Riven we were talking about. And is that an Ezreal? Or, excuse me, a Tryndamere?
Yeah, that is a Tryndamere. Tryndamere has seen some games in the OGN. I actually think that this is going to be... Oh, it is Jungle Riven. Okay. It's going to be a top at least. This is really interesting because it's not something I would... Oh, okay. No, sorry. This is because this is because the order is different. So you can see Pawn on your screen is hovering over Riven. That's a mid Riven. Spirit is the jungler. So it's jungle Elise and top Shyvana. I don't know why NLB apparently messed up the order for that. But
we'll have to send them a harshly worded email for them to get all their stuff together. But we'll go ahead and talk a bit about the lanes while we have this spectator delay. That's going to be Sivir Thresh in the bottom, Clown and Hachani. And definitely a very aggressive lane. Boomerang Blade is capable of putting out a lot of early damage, especially if Thresh could follow up with a quick death sentence, versus Deft's Caitlyn and Heart's Nami. Now, that's a very, very long-range poke composition. Of course, Caitlyn, with that 650 attack range and aquatic empowerment from Nami, allows for a very strong, quick trading and poking.
Yeah, so... I mean, these are all standard Korean picks. Let's just quickly talk about these team comps, though, all right? So, from the KT Arrows, we see a huge split push comp. Someday and Lyra both have the ability to push out lanes very, very quickly. However, just because of the state of the Korean meta, we know that these teams are going to fight around Dragon and Baron a lot. Therefore, it's really important to see whether basically the game rides on how quickly, using their speed buff specifically, the KT Arrows can get to the back line of Samsung Blue. We see a Tryndamere who, his ultimate basically demands attention and demands that he rush to the back line and try to crit as much as he can in order to take out Deft. We see Lyra, who has his who pops his Ragnarok ult and removes all passive debuffs from him. Mm-hmm. We also have Rookie, and if Rookie can land a very nice Orianna ult and just chunk Deft, then basically the team fight might be over. Mm-hmm. On the other side, Clown has a little bit more surefire peel for himself because just because Thresh has a lot of zoning tools that he has with his Flay and his Death Sentence. Therefore, it'll be really interesting to see what Pawn does because basically what I would like to say is that the top laner, jungle, and mid laner for Samsung Blue are in a very awkward spot right now because Heart's CC abilities with his Tidal Wave and his Bubble are not necessarily the greatest, especially when Bubble does not work on a Ragnarok-popped Olaf who is rushing at you. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it is important to see when Acorn will ult because the displacement from the Shyvana ultimate does offer a little bit of protection, and also it'll be interesting to see how deep Spirit and Pawn go in because they have very good gap closers. Spirit obviously has the repel in which she can just jump up and instantly just close the distance to her target.
Mm-hmm. And you do bring an excellent point right there. Spirit can use her repel offensively to get in with a quick cocoon and try to lock people down. Valor is also available on Pawn with Broken Wings for additional gap close. So there's a lot of CC on Samsung Blue's team. It seems as though that CC would be going to waste if they were to focus entirely on objectives. So it seems more like Samsung Blue is going for a more of a team fight composition despite an Olaf and Tryndamere.
Well, obviously, I mean, you say objectives, I say team fight. It's basically, in this Korean meta, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Teams like to group around objectives, and especially experienced teams like Samsung Blue know how to demand fights through their vision control, through warding in the proper spots in brushes around, dragon pits, top tower, Baron pits. They know how to do this so effectively. So, like I said before, the real joker here, the real wild card here, so to speak, is how Samsung Blue effectively utilizes their CC, because we know that Olaf and Tryndamere, that's some sustained DPS, baby. Like, they have ults that basically, enhance their survivability. So we know that they're going to be trying to wail on the AD carry all day. The question is how the Samsung Blue squad can effectively peel for the carry. Because if they can't, then they're going to lose. Because Tryndamere is going to get some early kills, and then he'll just steamroll by, going to side lane. And, I mean, a Shyvana can't handle him. I don't think so. At least if Tryndamere has a few kills, so...
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye out, and this is very, very exciting. Once again, this is KT Arrows versus Samsung Blue, and I'm sure we're going to be spawning into the Rift. Yes, there we go, and we already see some very early item pickups. And now this is a bit fun, seeing the Frost Talisman out of Heart. It seems like he's going to want to do a little bit of trade early on, whereas on the other hand, Hachani picking up the golden coin, going to be focused on getting that Talisman of the Ascension as quickly as possible.
Right. Especially in the early levels, obviously we don't know if there are going to be 2v1 lanes or 1v1 lanes. It looks right now like they might be posturing for 2v1 lanes, especially since Deft has shown in the mid lane. But in the event that if there was a 2v2 lane, I would say that it's very important how the level 1 or level 2 trade for Deft and Heart go, because if they could get a Piltover Peacemaker in with some of those empowered aquatic blessings from Nami, and just a few shots onto Clown, it would just mean the world to that lane. But I honestly don't think that it would be.
I hate to interrupt. Looks like there's some action going down as Someday gets caught out by Spirit. Spirit not opening up with the volatile Spiderling quite yet. Someday was right on top of a ward, but he is able to escape. And was that a standard ward, or was that the trinket ward that went down early on? And Acorn continuing to follow up onto Someday, forcing him to take his spin. And the evade pressure from Samsung Blue is very aggressive. And oh man, Pawn looks like he might catch Clown out of position with Deft. Let's see if they are going to be able to catch it. We have one Broken Wings go down. Will the knock-up land? And no. Here's Rookie coming in from behind, able to get a command protect early on. Unfortunately, that's going to put Rookie a bit behind in the early game without that command attack to trade. And holy cow, KT wants to go for an invade. There's so much action already as Pawn is now turning on to Lyra. Again, this is only Deft and Pawn against 4 members of KT Aero. And finally, we see them backing away.
That trade was incredibly disadvantageous for the KT Arrows because Elise stole blue. And then they were able to protect their own blue by... And then they were able to protect their own blue by giving it to Riven, who's actually going to go into the solo lane against this Orianna. But we have some action at the top. No, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick comment on the taking E command protect on Orianna. That's actually fairly standard against picks like Riven and Gragas, who have some decent all-in potential on level 2 or level 3. So that's not. I don't think we have to be that it's not that much of a drawback to take a level 1 command protect, but it definitely sets them behind a little bit. You're right.
And especially against Deft in that mid lane on Caitlyn. Seems like Rookie is going to have just a bit of trouble, but in the top lane, Acorn has been putting up non-stop pressure on Someday. We can see Someday has already consumed his health pot, and Acorn even used an early Ignite to deny that early health pot. Someday, however, he's Tryndamere. He's regenerating that health back very slowly because of Doran's shield continuing to pick it back up. But oh man, here's Spirit coming in from behind, does have double buff. No Cocoon landing quite yet. Here's the Repel coming down. Looks like the Execute goes down. Yes, Venomous Bite for Elise. Picks up first blood.
That was a really good kill. I mean, the reason why Elise was there, because usually it takes her a much longer time to actually get up to the top lane, but just because she was able to get the opponent's blue, and then grab a red, and then rush to top lane to dive the turret, just basically means that she can dive early on, no problem, especially since Tryndamere's work weak in the early levels. That's how you actually defeated Tryndamere, Before level 6, Tryndamere cannot do anything, especially against an early game monster like Shyvana. So it'll be interesting to see whether Spirit decides to revisit that top lane or whether he decides to make some other rotations.
And this is some fantastic pressure out of KT Arrows in the bottom lane, both Hachani and Clown shoving away at that turret to try to keep Pawn from feeling safe. Of course, Pawn on that single lane Riven is going to have to be something to watch out for. Single lane Riven does scale very well into the mid and late game as long as she doesn't get denied. And Clown and Hachani, they're doing their best, but already we can see 19 farm on Pawn compared to the 17 farm of Rookie in the mid lane. Rookie actually had the 1v1 and did better. And oh wow, looks like there is another gank going on. Pawn gets a good Valor going in. Let's see if we get the Cocoon to land. And woo, a great spell shield. Cocoon catches Clown, but it's not enough. Pawn now turning around to see if he can follow up a bit. Gets caught in the death sentence. This is now Samsung Blue backing away.
It's directly off your screen, but if you look at the okay, that's nothing. If you look at the bottom turret for Samsung Blue, it's actually at I think around 10% health right now. So if the KT roster arrows can actually burst this down and then rotate to the mid lane and basically give Orianna a free lane against Pawn, then it'll be really advantageous. We see Pawn actually backing right now, so we really want to see this fast push out of the KT roster arrows, basically.
KT has to capitalize on that early advantage they have against Riven, because on the other side, Deft is certainly racking up some minions. We can see he's already got 42 to the 35, and oh, we could have another gank from Spirit. Spirit has been ganking non-stop, and his cocoons have been on par, so we'll have to see if he decides to go in. And already there's the aquatic empowerment on Deft, trading so well with Rookie. Look at that trade. We've already had Rookie back off, pick up a Northern Doran's ring, and a cloth armor to help stay in lane and deal with Deft's poke.
Yeah, smart by the KT Arrows not to go in too hard, because I think they sense that Spirit might be there, even though there are no wards. Spirit is sticking here for a long time. I actually want to see him make a play, and he's actually making a play down. A little bit of action
going on. Orcon, Acorn, level 6, has Dragon's Ascent. It's flashed out of a Someday still alive, but here's Heart coming around from behind. Heart only level 3 is going to have to be careful. Someday is getting a little bit close to level 6. Heart actually gets caught in the undertow, takes aquatic empowerment. Ignite now burning away. Lyra looks like he wants the kill, gets the reckless swings despite the exhaust, and he picks it up with an undertow. Will he turn on to Acorn? Oh, the Durnout is bleeding away, but he's not going to go for the dive on Acorn.
The reason why that was not a clean double was because Someday, since he has been, limited from so much CS, is still level 5, so he did not have, his
here's Spirit coming around from behind on Hachani. A great level 6 from Pawn. Gets a lot of damage with the broken wings. Let's see if we get the execute from Spirit. He doesn't dive the turret. Ignite, he picks up the kill in the flay. Pulls Pawn in. He's taking a lot in the turret. Gets the kill for Clown.
That was an incredibly messy
play. Clown flashes forward, gets a good boomerang blade onto Spirit. Cocoon is spell shielded. Clown wants this kill. Is he going to get it? No! Those quick boots from Spirit keep him alive.
That was an incredibly messy play from Samsung Blue. Honestly, that kind of engage honestly should just be backed out of. It's not worth it for Pawn and Spirit to both be forced out of lane, because as you can see, Clown has full access to this bottom lane turret. That's currently at 10%. You would think that he would try to burst it down right now, but I actually think he might just back and buy some items.
It is more beneficial, I think, to keep that turret alive for now. Just keep the pressure on, while Pawn is just going to have that much less mobility in lane, and even then, it's an excellent opportunity for KT Arrows to try to dive the turret if they want to try to make that happen. But so far, we've been seeing Lyra fall behind a little bit. He did get one gank in the top lane, was able to pick up Heart, who was trying to go for the dive on Someday. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Lyra has been as effective on Olaf as we've been seeing Spirit on Elise right now, already trading away onto Hachani. This is just such phenomenal play out of Spirit right now.
Right. Spirit has been, making an effort to go make plays around the map, and he's been a little bit more successful in that aspect than Lyra has. And you can look at the CS numbers. They're both the same. You can from 25 and 29 CS at around 9 minutes. It basically tells a story that both junglers were looking for ganks and weren't really participating in trying to take out their jungle creeps as much.
And we do have Pawn completing a BF sword for additional attack damage. That's going to help with a very quick early Bloodthirster for sustain and a lot of scaling with broken wings. And Deft is just zoning Rookie so hard. Rookie only at 58 farm compared to Pawn, who's at 52. Though it looks like Pawn just lost that bot turret, which is going to be a bit unfortunate, as that is going to allow KT Arrows to decide to try to rotate up towards the mid. But it looks like Spirit is in position. And Cocoon catches Someday out of position. He's trying to burn him down. Here comes Heart, managing to land aquatic empowerment. And Ace in the hole, just going to tickle Someday's fancy, but is not going to try to force a fight. There is still Undying Rage available. And Acorn, he's going to have to get, well, I guess he's going to continue split pushing in the top lane.
I would have actually preferred if, I commented before that Cloud might take the turret after the 2v2 fight, disastrous 2v2 fight for Samsung Blue, actually, between Pawn and Spirit and Clown and Hachani. But, I disagree with them not taking the turret, only because if they had taken the turret then and let the minion wave die under turret, Pawn would not have gotten the farm. For lane Riven, it is so important, as I'm sure you know, to get that free farm. And now you can just see he has free farm now, and then, we see Clown just aimlessly going up to mid lane and then aimlessly coming back to bot, not really accomplishing anything. So I would have liked to see a little bit more decisive play from the KT Roaster Arrows.
KT Arrows, they're playing very well right now. Cocoon catches Rookie. Let's see if the command shockwave goes in a huge dark passage from Hachani. Keeps him alive despite the tick from Red Buff. There isn't even a command shockwave to be seen. And you're exactly right. It is absolutely vital for Pawn to finish off that Bloodthirst as soon as possible. Dragon's Descent in the top lane. Acorn wants blood on Sunday, going to try to bleed him down. Undying Rage is popped. But I believe that was actually just running distraction while the rest of Samsung Blue, after taking the mid turret, goes for a quick early Dragon.
Right, so the problem here, and another one of the reasons why it would have been nice for the KT Roaster Arrows to rotate mid earlier, is because, you know, taking the mid turret unlocks so much more map and pick potential for the KT Roaster, for Samsung Blue, than the loss of their bot turret, and you can see that. So what happened was that because Samsung Blue realized that Clown and Hachani both backed after you know, the 2v2 fight, they allowed Deft to push up on the mid lane with his Caitlyn, and then they took a really effective vision control around the Dragon Pit. It doesn't show right now because those wards have expired, but if you actually date back to right around where Tryndamere was fighting Shyvana and where Tryndamere had to pop his Undying Rage ultimate, there was a lot of really good ward control from Samsung
going
Blue.
For a jungle invade for Samsung Blue. Clown and Hachani are in position. The death sentence is going to land. Oh man, Hart is almost certainly going to go down. He misses his flash, and he actually just stood there for a moment, just said, "I am resigned to my fate. I am sushi on Siver's platter." And great play out of Hachani, and Clown picking up Hart. And whoa, a Cocoon flash out of Spirit to try to catch Rookie in the mid lane. And Command Shockwave misses, catches Pawn, but Pawn is able to Valor through it. Again, that's this early Seeker's Arm Guard on Pawn, and the CC is non-stop as he can't quite get it out of this team fight. Throws down the Broken Wings again. Cocoon misses. Oh, wow, what a great pickup out of Spirit, who is rushing early Sork Pen, so she does have that quick nuke ability. Again, this is Jungle Elise, so she does scale relatively well. But a great play out of KT Arrows despite their early mistake.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, it is a pretty good play for the KT Arrows. I would say that, you know, not having ward coverage around that brush is a pretty heavy mistake, especially since a roaming Shyvana that's ahead by 10 CS and 10 CS and an assist. It'll be really interesting to see the kind of rotations that Samsung Blue make right now, because I actually think that in about 7 minutes, if they're careful enough, they could potentially, you know, ward around the Baron Pit and try to bait a really nice Baron, as, you know, quick as that sounds. Even though we know the KT organization, for all you OGN fans, the KT organization is famous for their sneaky Barons in around 20 minutes. I think Samsung Blue can pull off the same move here.
And Acorn, you were talking about him being just a little bit ahead in farm and roaming. Does have some excellent map control. Also has a very early Sunfire cape. And this is pre 4.02, I believe the patch is, where the Sunfire cape was nerfed. So that is still a pure 40 damage per second. And just fantastic aggression out of Samsung Blue. He's going to get tankier and tankier. And until we see more people, more champions from KT Arrows rotate up to deal with Acorn, I don't know how Someday is going to do. He's getting closer and closer to Blade of the Ruined King, but until that is completed and until he gets his Zeal on top of it, he's going to have a lot of trouble.
Right. So the decision for Acorn was what to make his first item, and the decision was between a Sunfire cape and a Blade of the Ruined King. But, you know, Acorn has basically resigned himself to the fact that he is a tank for this team. Look at the DPS. We have Pawn on Riven and Deft on Caitlyn. Both of these champions experience like really heavy mid-game power spikes, power explosions that allow them to team fight effectively. So Acorn knows that as long as he split pushes effectively against this Tryndamere and demands attention from Sunday and also limits the amount of split pushing that Sunday can do, it's basically a small win for Samsung Blue.
And we'll definitely have to keep an eye how KT Arrows deals with that, if that is going to be Someday continuing to split push or if he eventually decides to join up with the rest of his team. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds before Dragon spawns, so I expect to see some wards going down, and already we can see Lyra clearing out the jungle from Samsung Blue's forwards wards. But Spirit and Deft are doing so exceptional right now. We have Spirit at 3-0-0 and Deft 141 farm, completed Bloodthirster, and an absolute dominant force in the mid lane.
Right. Usually we we wouldn't.
Oh, a huge hook catches Hart out of position. He takes an auto attack for his troubles, clearing that ward.
Okay,
But no engage.
I actually think that Caitlyn Deft used her ultimate ace in the hole on Clown, but Clown just spell shielded that away. I don't know why Deft did that. But what I was going to say is that usually you want kills on team members besides your Elise, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of build Elise goes for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that with a few spiders, and especially with the empowered shots from empowered buffs from Heart onto Deft, I think that they can take this bottom lane turret quite easily, unless Thresh lands a hook on a squishier target.
Mm-hmm. And with these two 4-man teams grouped up at the bottom, we can see that the wave clear 4 arrows is enough to keep Samsung Blue away, but someday, rotating down towards the mid, he wants to keep Samsung Blue on their toes because he knows if Samsung Blue decides to try to go for a dive, they're going to follow up with Dragon, and he'll be in position to follow up on that Dragon. Of course, this is a completed Blade of the Ruined King now on Someday, so he will be able to chunk down his targets, not to mention level 2 of Undying Rage, which is going to give him, I believe, 60 Rage when it's activated?
Right. So, also, one thing to note is that Dragon is currently up right now. I would actually prefer if KT, since they're in a good position, since they're sandwiching kind of their opponents between a tower and Dragon, I would have preferred that if they actually got more Dragon control right now. We actually see Acorn posturing for a possible, a flank move.
Oh, whoa, Spirit gets caught too far forward, throws down the rappel. He's got nowhere to go, though. Actually follows Someday over the wall and flashes away. Here's Acorn coming around from behind. Tidal Wave gets a good knock up. Dragon's Ascent catching down just about everyone, and a flash over the wall. It's entirely ineffective for now, but Exhaust catching Acorn. A huge death sentence pulls him back in, but here's Pawn finally blowing in, picking up not 1, but 2 kills. Looks like he's going for a 3rd. He's now turning onto Rookie. Will Rookie get away? No! That's Deft picking this one up, and now Deft turning onto Lyra. Lyra blows Ghost to try to escape, but Repel off cooldown allows Pawn to help pick up the kill with Spirit, but Someday turning onto Heart, trying to see if he can at least get a support for this 4-man death for KT Arrows, and he can't. This is Samsung Blue taking Dragon. That
was a really, really, really disastrous fight. Unfortunately, I do not think that the NLB offers instant replays on their fights, but what essentially happened is that okay, so what essentially happened is that I believe that Olaf should have popped Ragnarok much earlier. You could see on your screen if you go back a minute or two that
whoa, Thresh gets a pull onto Acorn, actually jumps over the wall. Acorn does get the blue buff and just burns away.
So what I was saying before is that you could actually see Heart landing popping a bubble stun onto Lyra. Lyra immediately should have used his Ragnarok in order to burst a low health target, because Heart was a low health target they could have gone after. Deft was relatively chunked, and Acorn, and they honestly could have bursted Acorn much more quickly if they wanted to. Obviously, you don't want to focus all your DPS on the tank. Overall, like a really good communication from Samsung Blue, and a good decision to not immediately disengage after they saw all those ultimates being popped, especially the Orianna ultimate, because some teams have the potential to go on tilt and just tuck tail and run away when they see that kind of fight emerging.
Absolutely. KT Arrows definitely got caught in between Shyvana and a hard place, and it didn't work out in their favor. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that works. Now, again, we mentioned Spirit's build a little bit earlier. He did decide to go for the Spirit of the Ancient Golem for jungle clear, and now he's following up with a Haunting Guise. So it appears that Spirit wants to try to be nice and painful. He's going to try to catch onto Clown, possibly even try to find his way to Rookie. Again, Elise can go with 1 or 2 commonly accepted builds in high ELO play. She can go for that Haunting Guise, Sork Pen sort of magic penetration build and assassinate her targets, or she can try to build tanky. But Spirit, recognizing that Acorn already has a completed Sunfire Cape, is only about 500 gold away from a Spirit Visage, is going to be tanking up for her team, decides to go for the Assassin.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, right now you can just see how far ahead Acorn is right now. He has a Spirit Visage, Ninja Tabi, and a Sunfire Cape, which is huge against a mid-game Tryndamere. Actually, honestly, Someday is not doing that badly. Right now, he has his average blade, and I expect him to build that into a static shiv in a few minutes, which basically will allow him. Well, the DPS will allow him, and the static shiv procs will allow him to more quickly burst deft should he get the opportunity. But I mean, as you can see by the gold lead, Samsung Blue is in firm control of this lead with 6,000 gold, with a 6,000 gold lead at 21 minutes, which is huge.
And that's going to be tough for KT Arrows to catch up on. And Acorn thinks he smells a Tryndamere in the bush and just realizes it's nothing but some minions. Trades a little bit away with Someday and walks away. And again, I just would like to stress how strong Acorn is right now. You mentioned he did complete his Sunfire and his Spirit Visage. He's going to be absolutely shredding through his targets. Currently level 14 to the level 11 of Lyra and level 12 of Clown. And Rookie only just hitting level 12 as well. So that level advantage alone is going to give Acorn so much in teamfights. And Spirit going for a sneaky dragon. But their ward is behind the wall.
Earlier. This might be a 21-minute. I said there might be a 20-minute dragon if the control is good enough. Unfortunately, Riot, please. The Baron Pit is bugged. So when you put even when you put a pink ward relatively close, like relatively inside the Baron Pit, there are a lot of wards that it doesn't see, and teams have been taking advantage of that. Rita, please
Cocoon
fix
being
that.
used. Rookie forced to flash away from Spirit's very scary Cocoon. As we see Samsung Blue, looks like they want to try to rotate and take a turret. I don't know what happened in their mind, but they want objectives right now, as we can see Pawn and Deft going down to the bottom to try to take that tier 2 turret.
Well, Caster Seda, here is one of the main problems with Samsung Blues and as well as KT Arrows' composition. There is no, unless, okay, see, Caitlyn does have a static shiv, which is very good, but there's no certifiable and, there's no really powerful wave clear from Samsung Blue. That's why you see them kind of wandering around looking for a pick and trying to place wards around the map in order to get a good angle on some to make a gank on one member of the KT roster Arrows. But because the siege is not exceptional, they're having a really hard time pushing down these turrets because they don't know when Hachani might just flash hook and Someday might come in from the rear, ganking from behind in order to take out a relatively low health Deft. Even with a static shiv, a pickaxe, and a fully stacked Bloodthirster, I do not think that Pawn would last, more than a few seconds against, a rage-filled Someday.
And we actually have the KT Arrows grouping up a little bit around Baron. They are in a better position than Samsung to try to force a fight there, as we do have a now completed Morellonomicon on Rookie. Now, Morellonomicon does have a little bit higher AP scaling, so it does provide a nice amount of damage, not to mention the healing debuff. And to compensate for that mana regeneration, we also have a Tear of the Goddess on Rookie. I like that.
Yeah, let's not make a mistake though. I would just like to point out that if the Baron Pit was properly warded, then they would have gotten a 21-minute Baron. This is really, really, really smart by Samsung Blue, because they're basically demanding a fight by making Shyvana tank all the Baron shots. And even though
Baron goes down, Tidal Wave catches Someday, and Hachani, Dragon's Descent, catches Lyra out of position. Clown gets low. Oh, he takes a quick proc from the headshot from Caitlyn, but it's not enough to pick up the kill. Spirit follows up with a good repel, follows it up. Lyra goes down. Here's Rookie now backing away, as that was also Someday, falling to Acorn. Acorn is continuing to chase onto Rookie. Dissonance getting a good amount of slow, and a Flash Cocoon lands. This is now Rookie blowing barrier to try to survive, but Spirit picks up the kill with Venomous Bite, but it doesn't look like Acorn is done yet. Now turning onto Hachani, he throws out the Dark Passage to try to keep himself alive, and another kill on Acorn. 2 kills in that fight, 2 assists. Acorn is phenomenal.
That's a clean 5-for-0 ace for the Samsung Blue side.
And Baron.
This is basically one of the advantages of having... this is one of the advantages of having red side for Baron control. Basically, you can see on the top left of your screen that ring of wards around the Baron Pit. Samsung Blue knew exactly where the members of this KT Roster Arrows squad were, and were therefore able to make a call, decide how quickly to burst Baron, and then basically make the call to turn extremely quickly after that fight. What you see in that fight is Samsung Blue is very much ahead. B, KT Roaster Arrows really need to work on their objective control because they have no wards around the map. Even from around 15 minutes in, the ward coverage around the map was really lacking for this KT Roaster Arrows. And C, that was a beautiful micro and macro gameplay from the Samsung Blue, and it can really shows how experienced this team is. They've been performing. They've been performing in OGN's hardest group, Group B, with 4 title contenders in one group, and it's just really exceptional communication from the Samsung Blue squad.
Samsung Blue playing very well, and we actually have a Spirit Visage picked up on Pawn to go with his Bloodthirster. That's going to provide a lot of regeneration. It's a bit curious not to see him go for an additional regeneration item instead. Smart play to get nice and defensive. Realize I'm ahead. I do enough damage to kill my enemy team. Instead of trying to kill them faster, I should give myself a bigger window to try in which I can kill them and pick up a Spirit Visage. So
right, obviously the regeneration stats are very nice. Usually the Spirit Visage build was something you originally saw on Jungle Riven. For the additional tankiness that it provides. Honestly, it's not a bad buy right here. Just because A, Pawn has 234 CS, B has 3 kills and 5 assists, and C,
Pawn is using Valor to tank turret hits while Deft continues to chunk it down. Great play out of Samsung Blue. Spirit coming in from behind. Looks like they might want to try to force a team fight while Acorn keeps Someday split in the top lane, but there is no tank for Samsung Blue, so if KT Arrows wanted to make a play happen, now would be the time. Instead, Samsung Blue takes the turret.
Just because of the regeneration stats from Baron, they don't have to be that afraid right now. But what I was saying before is that, Riven has a Last Whisper and a Bloodthirster. She can do anybody on the map right now because of that Spirit Visage. Basically, because of that Spirit Visage, makes her very much unkillable with the additional regeneration stats and the lifesteal that is offered from the Bloodthirster. So there's basically, I think, about a minute and a half left on this Baron buff. It'll be really interesting to see what the KT Roaster Arrows Samsung Blue decides to do with it. If Acorn can flank this lane, then it will be very, very, very much beneficial for the Samsung Blue.
Looks like
this is really smart. This is really smart play from Acorn right now because he knows that
if he can catch someone. Spirit pushing forward, getting caught just a little bit. Baron buff about to fade away, and it looks like it did just fall off. So KT Arrows has a little bit of a window now while Samsung Blue continues to pressure forward. But it seems as though the siege continues. Pawn getting forward onto Hachani, going to try to land the flay. The box goes down. A huge crit from Static Shiv catches Hachani. He falls. Now Acorn, Dragon's Descent onto all 4 members of KT. They look like they're getting low. Spirit comes in, tries to pick up a kill. Command Shockwave flings him back. Not going to allow for any sort of executes there. Undying Rage keeping Sunday alive, but he's stunned inside of the fountain. He is able to survive this one now. Clown following up, but Deft has so much damage. He's able to keep up with the regeneration from the fountain for the time being, but Samsung Blue has got to be careful. They're going to pick up the turret. Ragnarok is now blown for Lyra. We can immediately see Blue backing away. Deft using 90 caliber to back off, dodge an undertow, and to disengage.
So, the reason why the fight looked much closer than the gold would indicate is because Pawn actually misplayed a little bit there, and he got zoned out of using his full Broken Wings Key Blast combo on the KT Roaster Arrow squad. You can see that he actually got exhausted, decided to use a third use of his Broken Wings to get out of the fight, and then basically ran back in to finish with the Wind Slash that didn't do that much health and didn't execute that many targets, even though a lot of members of the KT Roaster Arrows were low. So, and also that fight was under 2 turrets. Really the star of that fight was Acorn, though. The reason why that fight didn't go worse for Samsung Blue was because Acorn was able to displace 4 members of the KT Roaster Arrows with that Dragon's Descent. Thank you for reminding me about the name of that ultimate. But basically only because of the zoning power of a Shyvana against a full AD team with a Randuin's Omen and a Sunfire Cape and a Ninja Tabi, they were able to come out of that fight mildly successfully.
And it just goes to show the skill of these players, even with KT Arrows 14,000 gold behind. When getting dived all the way to the fountain, they only lost to Chani. And Samsung Blue, diving from the inhibitor all the way to the fountain, only lost Spirit. So these are still some very skilled, high-level plays we're seeing out of the team. And KT Arrows, despite being so far behind, are not out of this yet.
The name of the game for the Samsung Blue right now is not necessarily to push its lanes, but I think it's the posture around Baron. Samsung Blue is a very patient team, and they've shown that in past OGN Champions Winter games. What they need.
Whoa! Talisman of the Ascension is blown. Pawn forced to flash away in a great tidal wave. Tries to keep Pawn away, but he's caught, and the death sentence is almost certainly going to fall, but maybe not before taking Rookie. No, he goes. In the meanwhile, Someday catches Spirit out of position. Spirit is actually ignited. A huge crit from Static Shiv, burning down. Let's see if Undying Rage is going to allow Someday to pick up the kill. No, he's going to back away instead. Will he make it over the wall? As Acorn leads him away. Undying Rage is blown. Ignite is not being activated. Dragon's Descent to follow up allows Acorn to catch up with a big flash. He's using the Sunfire Cape to try to get in on some way. Will he get the kill? A Dark Passage keeps him alive. Now this is Light turning onto Acorn. Acorn going to be forced to back off. Baron has just respawned, so there aren't very many members of Blue in position. KT Arrows looks like they're making a beeline for the Baron.
So what I was going to say before was that the name of the game for Samsung Blue was to posture around Baron. There are only 20 seconds left on Baron. Now, if they give this Baron away, it's very much letting Samsung it's very much letting KT Arrows back into the game.
Ooh, Ace in the hole goes down. It's getting low. Will Spirit get the execute? He's getting in close, and no! That's going to be Clown trying to help pick it up with Rookie. Unfortunately, this is Clown forced to flash away. Rookie dangerously low. Uses his own use to try to survive. Now that's 3, soon to be 4 members dead. And Pawn turning now onto Clown. Going to land the broken wings. Yes, this is Clown's death. 4 members dead. Baron not worth it.
Yeah, despite the Baron buff on, I think now only Someday, which isn't a bad thing by any means, but what in the world?
Acorn, I think he forgot there's a turret there.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a dragon, this is Game of Thrones, baby. When you're a dragon, you can try to do anything you want, try to force yourself away.
You go for the Nexus or you die.
But what? Even though there was a Baron buff on the KT Roasted Arrows, basically a 15,000 gold lead speaks, a 15,000 plus gold lead speaks for itself. There's nothing that the KT Arrows can do to stop a professional team like Samsung Blue. Basically, what Samsung Blue has to do here is rotate, and I think that they'll either go for the top turret. Yeah, I think they'll go for the top turret. What this means is that they'll let their other waves push, specifically the bottom wave. You can see Pawn is actually going to clear out and start pushing the bottom wave. So they'll clear out the bottom wave, force the members of KT Roasted Arrows to come top, and immediately when they see probably Someday going to split push and going to clear out the wave's bottom to stop the super minions from taking their next turrets, then they'll engage with a Pawn, Flash, Key Blast, and an Acorn Dragon's Descent Ultimate.
And we will have to keep an eye on Someday going for the red invade. On the other side of the wall is Cocoon, who lands Spirit, who lands a great Cocoon. And Someday blows the Undying Rage a bit early. Spirit continuing to follow up. Dark Passage is available, and Someday going to escape. But again, at what cost? Samsung Blue, they are now steamrolling their way down the mid lane. They are going to take that last inhibitor turret, followed shortly thereafter by the inhibitor.
I mean, honestly, that was a slight misplay by Samsung Blue because they had wards all around the map, and they knew that the members of the KT Roasted Arrows, specifically Thresh with his Dark Passage and Rookie with his Command Protect, were in a position to save Someday. Yet Acorn burned his hard engage in the form of Dragon's Descent, so it'll be very interesting to see how effectively Samsung Blue can dive, especially since Rookie from the KT Roasted Arrows has a Zonias, a Morella Nomicon, and I think he's on his way to fully stacking his tier. So he really can clear waves quite effectively once they stack up at this inhibitor turret.
And we can see Clown is doing a great job with Rookie of keeping those waves clear, but that doesn't really matter as Pawn continues to split push in the bottom lane. Tidal Wave going down. Pawn catches Someday out of position, but Someday has excellent lane clear as Tryndamere. That's a completed Static Shiv, Blade of the Ruined King, and Last Whisper for additional armor penetration, so Someday will be able to keep things farmed. But here's Pawn coming around from behind. He does have broken wings, so we'll have to keep an eye on, exactly as you said, the dive ability from Samsung Blue. We've seen it before. It worked really well. Acorn now coming around from behind, trying to catch Lyra, and yes, Pawn catches Someday out of position. Pawn getting low. He's going to fall, but now this is Acorn turning in. A huge command shockwave catches Deft. He's not able to quite get into the team fight just yet as Acorn goes in 1v4 to zone out all of the remaining members of Arrows, but this is the last inhibitor going down. Now there are super minions making it to the Nexus turret. Zeft trying to do what he can. He does have a Guardian Angel, so he doesn't have that much to worry about. Undying Rage was popped for Sunday, but no, it looks like Blue wants to disengage here with all of the inhibitors gone. That's double super minion spawning. That is complete map control for Samsung Blue.
Okay, so, I mean, just look at the items. Like the last time I talked about the Acorn, his latest item was Renduin's Omen. Now he's added the Thorn Mail against a full AD composition, especially with champions that scale off of auto attacks like Sivir, Sivir, Tryndamere, and Olaf. I mean, he's just unkillable right now. Also, he has an additional giant spell that he just built into a Warmong's armor. Acorn is officially at a full build, ladies and gentlemen. 323 CS, 3-0 and 12. This is an unkillable dragon right now. The Dovahkiin, so to speak. Nothing can kill him right now.
We do have Acorn being the Dragonborn. 3-0-12, just doing phenomenally well for Samsung Blue. I would be very surprised if that made it through ban phase the next time we saw Samsung Blue come up in the NLB. But now we finally have the double super minions clearing up. It looks like Samsung wants to try to push onto the final inhibitor that has just respawned. There's actually a bit of a window here for KT Arrows. If they're able to deflect this push, possibly even lose the inhibitor, but win a team fight with Samsung, it's starting to get late enough into the game that the death timers are big enough to allow KT to make a counter push. And
On the Hunt has just got popped.
Deft is going in. Tidal Wave goes down. Spirit catches Clown out of position. Will he be able to pick up the kill? Yes, he does. In the meanwhile, Hachani falls to Deft. Acorn getting a Dragon's Descent. The super minions are getting onto the Nexus turrets, but Rookie very far forward blows the Zonias, but is not even going to be dealt with by the remaining members of Blue as they move onto the Nexus, and they are certainly going to be taking the game.
Well, fortunately, this is a 3-game set between the two teams. Here's my take. The KT Roster Arrows were very transparent with their one-dimensional composition, which basically says, and you can see it through their actions. Someday you're a carry. We're gonna let you have all the farm. Split push and carry us, please. Someday, senpai, please. What Samsung Blue, knowing this, Samsung Blue responded with, we saw I think at around 6 minutes an early level 3, level 4 gank from a relatively tanky early game Shyvana and Elise, a double buffed Elise, onto Someday, and then this basically got Acorn his items on Shyvana and allow him to A, take down the turret, and then B, continuously apply pressure on Someday, even tank turret shots to deny Someday CS in order to basically limit Someday's late game carry potential. At the point when Acorn basically got his Thorn Mail, it was just all over.
I think they shouldn't call him Acorn. They really ought to call him Oak, because he was just so strong in that past game. But again, that is the end of the game. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Dom Castraceta.
I'm Hughbo Irving Shim, and it was very nice to perform for you all. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks. Have a nice one.